Oh, it looks like we're finally set up in the right orientation. I've been trying this so many times. On my fake page it works, and then when I move to the actual page it doesn't work. But it looks like I finally have a landscape orientation. So we're in business. Okay. I've been trying for a couple of days to get a video started on breaking in a new stamp set. At a lot of my classes I used to always say that you can possess a stamp set, but you don't truly own it until you have played with it enough to know what the opportunities and the limitations that it brings with it. So today I'm going to show you a little bit about how some of the things that I did when I was trying to get used to the Painted Seasons stamp set, which is a new celebration set that comes with a pack of some beautiful designer series paper plus the stamp set. It's part of the celebration offerings from late February through the end of March. Those products are free with a $100 order. But for today, we are just going to be playing with the images from the stamp set to see how they work. Oh, there's a little bit of glare there. I'm sorry about that, but it's mostly hiding the blanks part of the case. To start with, we are going to make a couple of frames because while we're playing, we're actually going to make some cards. And with this type of stamping, it's not hard to get a good product on the first time through. Now, what I'm trying to do is make a 1/2 inch border. I'm using my Stampin' Trimmer, and I'm placing it a 1/2 inch in. This is the 1/2 inch mark here. Here's 1 inch, here's a 1/2 inch. And I'm going to make myself a little masked frame. So I'm going to go from 1/2 inch to 5 inches, just shy of the 5.5 inch. I should say this is cut to be a card front size, an A2 card front, which is 5.5. Oh, this is, I'm starting with a short piece. Oh yes, it's 5.5 inches. Yep, by 4 1/4. But we've got it moved in here so that it looks like it's there. Now I'm not, usually this works better if I'm right above it, and I want you to see what I'm doing instead of seeing my head. So we'll hope this is going to turn out. I actually have one that I've made up before, so we'll use that one for real. So then you get, actually, what could be 2 masks. You have this rectangle, which you can then put on a card, on an unfolded card front. We'll show you how that works. Or you could actually mask the center of your card and just stamp around it. Now, to get these to truly work as masks, you're probably going to want to get something sticky on there. Now, I use a 2-way glue pen, which I still have from when Stampin' Up! Carried them, but you could smear a tiny bit of the liquid multi-purpose glue on here and just let it dry until it's truly tacky and won't stick to your paper. I'm going to go ahead and do this one too. But we'll set those aside. And I actually have some that I made earlier. But before we get going, while we still have the trimmer out, we're going to do it one more way. And I'm going to go to 1 1/4 and still go a 1/2 inch, and you'll see how this is going to work. Now we'll switch to the 1/2 inch. What I'm trying to do is to leave a bigger border on one edge of the card, which is going to be my bottom edge, that will allow me room for a sentiment. So here we have a little bit bigger space that will let you put a sentiment in there. Okay, we'll set those aside, and I'll pull out those that I made earlier. I'm going to show you one more thing before I put my tray away, though. this is a nice trick if you've got your Stampin' Trimmer handy. Know that there is I'm going to slide this up so you can see it. There's a bar here that helps you get your paper square in the cutter, but you can also use that to line up your stamps, especially if you're lining up something that doesn't have a lining up one that doesn't have, let's say, a sticker on it. Say this one. This one doesn't have a sticker on it. But I can get my block square here and then line up my words to make sure that they line up with the grid on the Stampin' Trimmer. So that's less necessary when we're using our new sticky cling stamps, because then you can see the sticker. But if you don't have a sticker on your block, this is a really great way to line them up. I'm going to slide my trimmer away because I think we're done with it. And I'll set these aside and we'll pull out some of those frames that I made earlier. And I'm going to grab a card stock, some cards that they've already been scored down the middle, which you also can do with your trimmer. And then you can put that mask right over. It's a little bit easier if I could put my head in the camera, but here I think we're going to get it. So now I'm going to mask a white space around the edge, and we are now going to get used to what these stamps can do. Let's see. I'm going to start with, this is, I think it's kind of a succulent, but it can look like a rose too. I'm stamping with the Painted Season set, and I chose to use Blueberry Bushel here. And you can see the definition you get with that image. I think for this one we're just going to use the succulent because one of the amazing things I found out with this stamp set is that it layers really well with itself, if you're using the one image or many. In fact, you can even get lighter images. I'm going to try to balance out that. And you can get a real textured look. Let's pull that off. And you could slide something on there. I probably stamped a few too many times here. I'm going to see if I have another one that I stamped earlier with just that. Well, here I added some leaves, and I think it looks a little bit better without the leaves. But that will give you a nice border, so when you fold that, you've got a good note card. Let's get that a little bit flatter. Okay. Next, I'm going to show you one that we're going to do without a mask on the front, but I'm just going to mask the back. So this is just a quarter sheet that I put some glue on so that it's going to keep the back of my card looking good. And now we're going to keep up with the same ink. So you can set out to play with your stamps and figure them out with just paper, the stamp pad, and your stamps, and not be messing with a lot of supplies. But you'll learn a lot about what your stamp set will do. Now this is the petaled piece. And something when you're just doing some random stamping, it's a good idea to stamp kind of in a triangle. And then you'll get something relatively random, but you won't get it lopsided. Now I also want to go off the paper, so I'm going to make that triangle. And then let's make this triangle over here. So there I've got a few. If I was going to stamp another one, this one might be here. And then we'll set that one aside. Let's go back to our succulent. We'll We'll stamp this one here and here. This one might not be able to do. Let's try this way. We'll try that. And then there's a fern stamp that has some variation. I think of it as a fern, but I think it also really is meant to be some sort of a pine image. And once you get past those first few, you're going to stamp where you have room. I'm going to put like a tip here. And then we'll move on. This was one of the things that I wasn't sure when I first looked at the stamps if they would mix together real well, or if they'd be meant mostly to be used as individuals. During the month of March, you'll be able to purchase framelits so that all of these images could be cut out. I want to get one more of those over here. Let's try this. I have found that this has a great stem for being on its own, but if I stamp it too much in a pattern like this, that stem can get to be too much. So sometimes I try to make sure the stem goes off of the page. Let's see, we're going to do this little tiny piece, and we'll get a few of those in there. Let's see, let's come off of here. One thing I have found, if you looked on my Facebook page, I posted a photograph of my Stampin' Storage ink pad holder, which I had always thought it was kind of nice. I had room for some of my favorite retired colors, but I find I really don't use them that much. And yesterday, while I was looking around for trying to figure out a better place to put my blocks so that it would make doing Facebook Lives easier, I figured out that my blocks fit perfectly where my ink pads go. And the spots where you can store your ink refills are great for this. I'm thinking, is this a B? I'm not real sure of the letter size that goes with this long, small block. But I found that I actually like it better than the small square one because you have a lot of room to put your fingers and they're not in the way for seeing your image, especially if you're trying to line it up. Now, we're not trying to line that up today. We're just filling in some spots. So I really didn't leave myself much room for the Pinecone stamp, but we'll get that in on another one. So now I'll take that. Hopefully I'm not getting too much ink on my fingers. Looks like I got a little bit on the back of my card as I stamp that. Press that with the bone folder. And you've got another nice, just a regular card or something that you could use for a background piece somewhere else. Okay, now let's try our stamp. Let's see. I don't think I put sticky stuff on this. This is the one I prepared yesterday, and I went in ahead and tested it out while I was having technical issues. So we're going to line this mask up again, and this time we will get some use out of that Pinecone stamp because the texture on there is really pretty. And this time we're not going to worry about overlapping and spacing like we did on here. We are going to just go ahead and, let's see. Well, we'll start with the Pinecone this time. And every time you ink your stamp and stamp over any part of the mask, you want to re-ink it again. But I am going to want to get some lighter than normal images because they're going to help me fill this in. See how that's lighter? And sometimes that'll help you define your line. So I'm going to stamp, let's put one here, and then I'm going to keep using some of those. You don't, if you're pretty much going onto the mask, you don't maybe have to re-ink it, but if you would stamp, let's see, put an image here, then when I stamp that again, that line didn't come through too badly, but you get a line through your image, so that's why you want to re-ink it every time. Let's see, since we're going to pretend this is this time more of a pine bough, so we're going to mix this one in there. And I should have put this one here to keep the back from getting too much on there. But here we are, let's see, I think I'll go with a little bit of this one, get some of that in some of these spots. But I want to show you what we're going to try to do here. I'm going to lift the mask a little bit so you can see where my lines aren't all the way solid. You don't get a real distinctive line. So what I'm going to do is put that mask back down, and now I'm going to stamp off here so I can avoid a line, and then stamp a lot along my border, because that acts kind of like a sponge along the edge, but you're kind of painting with your stamps. And that'll give you a much more defined line when you take off your mask. And luckily, most of the time I had a mask on there, so that's open. Turn this like so. Luckily, that'll be in the back of our card. And then I'm going to grab an image or a sentiment. And my sentiments for this are all coming from the Kindness and Compassion set. This is unique in that it gives you a chance to make cards, sympathy cards, or it's mostly sympathy, I guess. But you could also use the gratitude and the thank you. So you can send the condolences, but you can also express your gratefulness for someone else's kindnesses towards you. We are sincerely grateful for your kindness and compassion. Thank you for your kind expression of sympathy from all of us. So I think it gives you a lot of options. Of course, nobody wants to order one of these before you need it, but if you get it for the sympathy expressions, you'd have it if you ever needed to do this. Now I'm going to try to keep my head out of here too much. I think we got that right. But you can see how that then left me room. I'll fold it so you can see the actual card. I had room to put a sentiment on the bottom. Here's another one I did earlier that had more of the mix. But you can see all the shading you can get with one ink pad, but get some real light ones and still get distinct lines around there. I'm going to show you a few others. Here you could stamp just around the edge and leave room. This is from the, let me think, what's the name? I usually have all my words together so I can look up and see them. It's one of the occasion set, and the line comes from one of the other stamps, but they're not labeled as distinctive, but they have shading too, so I was trying them all out at the same time. Let's try another card though where we make an image, and it might be helpful. We'll put that original line off here. Oops, just so that I kind of know where to put. I just put the one frame down so that I know where to put. Oh, now it flew around. Now I'm going to eyeball it just because I'm not going to have you have to watch me do that. I think that's pretty good. So let's, I think we're going to go with the floral this time. Oh, we better remember the mask for the back. If you would have this folded while you stamped, you wouldn't get real good impressions along the edge. So that's why I'm putting this here to keep the back of my card relatively clean. And you might, what we'll do here is, I think we will stamp our greeting first. Oh, we can't do that because that's where I'm going to do it anyway on my mask. So that will let me know, well, I've got a lot of room to work with. I think you probably would want to use a bigger image. Let's see. I'm just grabbing this one because it's handy. Thanks for everything. Oh. So we'll use this one. Get that on there. Oops, and that's upside down. Well, luckily that's our mask, so we'll get kind of the idea. You could have probably cut a bigger one. We'll ignore that, but let's go with, the more I play with this stamp, I love the variation in color there, and we're going to stick with the one over here. But can you see how you're getting an idea for how these stamps work together without just being used alone and trimmed out? I think I'm going to add some of this other leaflet type image. Let's add one. This one can go in there. And let's see, I think we're going to go back to the pine or fern. I think it works either way. So now that I know which direction that image is going, now you'll have a frame ready to use with a large greeting. I think in this time we're just going to stamp this one let's try it. I'm going to see how this one really could use a sticker on it, so it's a little bit straighter. Luckily that's one that's pretty forgiving though, isn't it? So there you've got a frame on the outside. Let's see. Oh, another thing that you can do, we'll pull this back. We won't need anything on the back this time because we're just going to create a corner image. So I'm just going to work with this corner. I'm going to put one flower, and then I'm going to quickly clean off that little leaflet pretty well, because when I ink it, I want to keep that stem off of there. And hopefully it's going to work like that. Oops, that time if you're going to do this many times, you need to make sure each time that your stem is not inked. So I'm going to put it here. And there I did it again. make sure my stem, wow, that's pretty inky. Now I have it on my finger, so let's try this. I think this time I want this one to go up along the edge, so I'm going to try that. And I still have a clear, so there I've got that. And then I think I have just enough. Well, let's try it this way. We can, if I don't take it off there, I can go back. I think what I'm going to try to do now, this is an experiment. We'll see what happens. What I'm going to do is, this is like a second or third generation flower. I'm going to do that to just kind of get that edge a little bit more. And I probably would have to stamp my word there just to make sure, but that way you can get just a little corner look with this same frame. I'm going to add one more thing, because now that I see that, I feel like there should be something going out longer on that side. Does that make sense? Okay, I've got one more card for you, and then I'll show you how we can kind of tie that all up. Move some of these out of the way here. This time we will use a mask on the back, and this is actually the card that I had planned all along to use in my blog post, and then I couldn't get the video to work because I was going to make a new one with this color, and yeah, I'll show you a few others, but that are all done. And then I couldn't get the video to work, so I went with the original, my what do you call it? My prototype. And I went ahead and I needed to get it posted because there was a challenge over on Paper Players that I wanted to have it included on, and the deadline was 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And my video wasn't going on, so let's put that one here. Now I'm just going to stamp not to the top, but on the upper part of my card. No, I'm going to leave this. Well, I can go. I'm going to cover up the middle, so I'm doing now. We're going to hold it. I'm going to put a message across here. And so you kind of have to plan out and see, what else do I need? I need something maybe in there. Maybe I want something stamped off. Let's try this. It's a little bit softer, and then I'm going to need something down here. I think I'll put you get the idea. Let's see if that's gonna, I think I would have liked this to have been even softer. Maybe I'll try it there. That's quite soft. But you can see how that works. I think I'll be good with that. So then we're just going to go back to our message set, which is kindness and compassion. I'm going to test this. That's fairly straight. I'm not going to put my head in the screen, and I'm going to hope that I've got this. Oh, God gave us two sides to a piece of paper so that we could fix it if we messed up. When I'm looking at it cockeyed, I'm not putting my stamp down. There we go. At the right angle either. So now we'll pull out glue for the first time. Let's see what I have here. It's probably a little more than you need. I think I will. You know what I'm going to do here? So that was the back of my paper. So I'm going to show you this real quick. You can take your bone folder and kind of turn that edge that was going to be pointed up and turn that down. And then it'll look a little more finished on your card. And we were really lucky because I didn't get any finger smudges on there. Let's turn that over. And now we'll just run that across the top of our card. And we've got a simple sympathy. Another way to do that, and I think that's what I did on the one I posted earlier, was to use a slightly smaller piece and then mount it on a card. But that one works too. I'm going to show you a few other things that I played around with. Those branches worked real well just in the corner. This nice little leaflet looks nice just like that. Oh, here's one we didn't do. This is another trick I haven't done in years, but let's just quick do this. I'm tearing a piece of paper. I want this to come up a little more here. Let's do that. So I still have one more piece of paper. So I'm going to do it like this. This is really kind of a fun, quick way to do a card too. And we're just gonna, this is kind of what I call sloppy stamping. So we'll leave it like that. And I think our thank you is going to fit in here again. So we'll go, well, we'll try this one. Because that will fit in our spot too. And that's really all you need to do. I think I touched ink to there, so I'm going to... Not much to it. Very simple cards. One more thing I'm going to show you how to do once you have a few that you like or might like to share is to package up maybe 4 of them, put them with a ribbon, and they make a great little hostess gift, especially when there's some of those cards that you might not want to do sympathy cards in there, but a few thank yous, thinking of yous would be great. And you can see, I guess this shows another thing I wanted to share with you, is that the gingham ribbon, even though it's Night of Navy, does still work pretty well with the there's a blueberry bushel that we were using all along. So that's it for today. I hope you got some tips. If you've got painted seasons showing up at your doorstep soon, that's you might want to get out and just play with the stamps before you dig into the framelits or anything. I think the framelits won't be available until the end of or the beginning of March, after the end of February. We're getting close, aren't we? That said, if you watch this video and would like to share it with others, I would really appreciate it. Oh, I also have to say, at my last video, I did do a drawing. I had a few people share it, and Marge Swanson won the lovely lattice. So I will be messaging Marge to make sure I have her current address. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.